getting attacked. All right. Oh, man. You are a dum-dum. All right, come on. Hey fellow ecom nerds, and welcome back to the channel. It is Andrew, back again with another update. In today's video, I thought we'd talk about the Apple iOS 14.3 update, the supposed Facebook killer, or Facebook ads killer. Spoiler alert, I don't think it is actually going to do as much damage to Facebook ads as everyone was touting, but everyone is still freaking out and losing their minds. So I thought I would make a video in terms of how I'm planning to get around this, and just looking at some of the experts and what they've said as well, and the advice that I'm planning on taking on board from them. I have noticed a few things happen to my account in the last few days. I think it's more around tracking, and it's taking a little bit longer to get feedback around that. But apart from that, it's been pretty much business as usual. So we're going to dig into some of those things today. I've got my little dog with me. He's feeling a bit lonely, so he's decided to jump up. My little mascot. I'm going to have to put you down soon. Not put you down. That's probably the wrong word. Place you back on the floor. So today we're going to talk about Facebook ads, and without further ado, I'm going to put this guy down, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Sorry, I'm still choking on my dog's fluff. All right, without further ado, so the first thing we're going to do is go through and look at some of the recommendations that Facebook ads have made in terms of what you should do to prepare for this, or I guess now that you're in the thick of it, what you should do to mitigate anything going wrong. So we're going to look at verifying your domain. We're going to look at using the Facebook ads C API to connect Facebook ads and Shopify. This is an e-commerce channel, so we're going to talk about how we connect Shopify to Facebook ads. We're going to go through that, and UTM tracking. So as I mentioned, the issues that I've found so far with the update is that the feedback loop in terms of getting feedback on how my campaigns are doing has kind of slowed down. So it's taking about 2 to 3 days. Some of the experts out there are saying it's taking 48 hours to get information on how well the campaigns are doing. So I think things like Google Analytics and using UTMs are going to become way more important. So we're going to talk about that as well. So what I recommend doing in terms of setting that up. And we're going to go through all of those things now. So let's jump into the computer and have a look. Okay, so we are in the computer now. I'm going to have a look through in terms of how to set up and verify your domain inside Facebook Ads Manager. So once we're into our account, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to here, and we are going to go into business settings, and we're going to load this. Then we're going to go down to the bit here where it says brand safety. We're going to click on that. We're going to click on domains. We're going to add a domain. So I've got this blurred out obviously because it's one of my accounts, but you can see what I'm doing here, and I would actually type in my domain. Just be aware that this is not your Shopify domain in terms of it can't be your store at shopify.com, because that's not going to work. You need to have the domain that's linked to your Shopify account. So that means the domain would be something like whatever, like yourstorename.com. So that's what you need to put in there. So if it's like mydogshoes.com, I don't know, it's a really bad business name, but if that's what it was, that's what you put in here. And then you get a little snippet of code. And the other option is you can do a DNS verification. But I find that getting a piece of code and put its little meta tag and putting that into your Shopify store is a lot easier. So what would happen is you would get this little snippet, and I'll show you on a client's page how we did that. Okay, cool. So where I installed this meta tag to verify the account for one of my client stores is I went into here, I went into edit code, and I want to go to the main theme, so theme.liquid. I look in here, and then I actually want to paste it inside the head tags close to the top. So I just pasted it under the other meta tags inside this theme, and you can see here, it's right here, the verification for the domain verification is right there. So that's why I actually pasted it. Then you can go back into Facebook, you say verify domain, and it'll actually verify that it's been added to the site, and that's the quickest way to actually verify your site. Now, the next thing we want to do is connect Facebook ads to our Shopify store. So we actually want to connect those together. And the reason for that is because of the tracking issue that I mentioned before, we want to make sure that our Shopify site is actually passing data back to Facebook. So Facebook knows when a conversion is happening, and also understands a little bit about the customer too, because this could be something that is getting muddied up a little bit with the iOS update, where we're not getting as much information about our customers as we normally would. So we can actually use Shopify to pass this information back. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go into Shopify, and I'm going to show you how I would set this up on one of my dummy stores so you can do this. And it's just going to help you make sure that you're collecting the right amount of data, and it's actually going to help you create things like lookalikes and things of that nature. So let's go in and have a look now. Okay, cool. So this is really easy, like a very easy process. You normally won't see this, but if you want to get your Facebook thing set up, you just need to go into channels, find Facebook in here as a channel. Now, obviously I can't see it here because I've already added it to this store. You'll see it. And then once it's added here, you want to go into Facebook. Then you want to let that load up. So it's right there. So now we can see that we can sell, we can do all this stuff, and we can connect Instagram as well. So we can do all these things. I recommend actually going through and setting all of this up if you can. If you want to do the Facebook connection or Facebook ads connection with Shopify, just go into here at the bottom, click continue setup or create setup, and then just fill in all this information. It's very easy, and this is the best way of passing information back from your Shopify store to your Facebook ads account using the Facebook ads API. So this is just going to help you collect that extra little bit of information. It's going to make it a lot easier, or your life a lot easier when it comes to Facebook ads marketing with the iOS 14.3 update. So go in and do these two things now. I think it's really important. Go and do it. Even pause this video, go and do it now. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is the UTM tracking. So this is going to become more important. And when I say UTM tracking, I'm also talking about something like Google Analytics, or maybe ClickMagick to track what's happening if and when perhaps your actual tracking doesn't work as well anymore. So as I mentioned, it's taking about 48 hours to maybe even 72 hours for information to come back to Facebook ads. So it's almost 3 days before I can make a decision on whether an ad set or an ad is actually working now, which is probably best practice anyway. You probably don't want to dive in. There's been many times when I was starting in my Facebook ads journey and I would go in and turn something off, and then 4 days later I would realize that it was actually doing really well, and I was just a little bit too impatient. So I would recommend actually just giving it time anyway. So with this 3-day update, I don't think it should make a massive difference here or there. So either way, you should be actually waiting that 3 days. So what you want to do though, as a backup, is make sure that you are tracking things inside a third-party analytics software. So like I said, there's ClickMagick. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. It is a paid software. But if you are on a budget, or you are happy and you've used Google Analytics before, I would recommend this because it's free and it still does pretty much the same thing. So what I want to do is show you, if you aren't familiar with what a UTM tracking code is, I will show you what that is now inside Facebook ads. And then I'll show you how you can track this inside your Google Analytics platform. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so I'm in my Facebook ads account now, and I'm in the section where I will create my ad. I'm going to upload my creative. I'm going to create my copy and put all that in there. But then I also want to make sure I've got UTM tracking enabled. So I want to come down here, and where it says URL parameters, this is where we're going to build our UTM to track inside Google Analytics or ClickMagick or what other software we decide to use. So we're going to go in here, build a URL. Now the way I like to do it is to go Facebook and then CPC, because inside Google Analytics that usually means that it knows it's not Facebook organic, it's actually a paid, it's a paid ad. So the other thing you want to do here is, I would say, name the ad set. So if it was, say, nurses, then t-shirt, and then I would also maybe name the targeting. So I might be targeting nurses, engaged, shoppers, etc. And then I would change this depending on what the name of the ad was as well. So if it's a video ad, I'd put that there, and it might be video 1 or it could be video 2, whatever it is. So you can track. And then if Facebook is not giving you the accurate information for whatever reason, if the targeting is off, if the tracking is off, then you can use Google Analytics to make the decisions in place of Facebook ads until they maybe sort out the tracking issues that may arise. So let's go in and have a look at Google Analytics now and see where you would see this type of information show up. Okay, cool. So I'm inside my Google Analytics account now, and I'll show you where I'll be looking to see. So this account's not linked to the Facebook ads account or it's not really tracking the Facebook ads activity that I showed you before, but this is a hypothetical So just keep that in mind. But if you are connecting these together, you'll use Facebook and Google Analytics to track your activity. So I've gone in here. So again, hypothetical, but this is where you would actually go in to see how your accounts are going. So I'd go in here into the acquisition part, all traffic, channels. So I'm going to go in and have a look now and see generally where all my traffic's coming from. Okay, cool. So a lot of my traffic is coming from organic, which is fine because I'm not doing any advertising at the moment. But if I was, I would go into here and have a look. So what I would do is I could do source, or even go source medium here. And you can see that the source is direct or none or Google and organic. So if I was running Facebook ads, I would see Facebook and then I would see CPC here. And I would know that's an actual CPC campaign for Facebook ads that I'm running. There's other things I could do in here in terms of splitting it, but it's going to be a little bit hard because I'm not running anything. But I could do something like campaign. So remember we talked about, if we look back here, this is the campaign name. So this is where this would show up. So I could also go and see what campaigns are actually showing up here as well. So if I could see Facebook ads or Facebook/CPC is showing up, then I might want to see, well, okay, well, what campaigns are actually doing well in here as well, and it will actually show you. So this is a good way of also keeping Facebook ads honest and also collecting information. So I recommend setting up Google Analytics and using UTMs going forward. You should have been doing this anyway, to be honest, but it's definitely going to be more important now with the iOS 14.3 update. So go in and do these three things, and this will already put you in good stead. But let's also talk about some segmentation stuff that I'm also looking at doing as well. So before we dive into segmentation, I just want to say that if you like these videos, please annihilate that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the little bell notification so the next time we drop one of these videos, you'll be the first to know. We have a whole walkthrough coming up on the 30th of January where I'm going to actually do a whole mini course on Facebook ads live on YouTube. So if you want to be involved in that and you want to jump on when I'm doing it so you can ask me questions as we're going through things, then please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm going to go live. Now, I'm also going to have a little form in the description below that you can go and sign up, so you get an email just before we go live, so you'll get a reminder. So make sure you go in and check that out. It's going to be all about Facebook ads. We're going to show you, even if you've never used Facebook ads before, how to go through and become dangerous with the knowledge I'm going to share with you. So if you've never used Facebook ads before, or even if you have some, I guess, experience with Facebook ads, I want to take you to that next level, and that's what we want to do in the training. I want to show you that Facebook ads is not rocket science, and you don't need to pay thousands of dollars to some guru to do a course. We can do it live here for free, so make sure you sign up for that. We're going to go through. And the other thing I'd like to do is, if you are in e-commerce, I would love to do some live examples too. So if you feel like sharing, it would be great to get you on, and we would love to have a look through what you're doing as well in terms of, or how you could possibly do things better. And we could do like a little mini consultation for free as we're going through the class as well. So if you feel comfortable doing that, this is going to be all included in the Facebook ads free live mini course that we're going to be doing on the 30th of January. Like I said, if you want to make sure you don't miss that, hit the little bell notification, make sure you're subscribed, and also fill in the little form if you want to just doubly make sure that you're not going to miss out. So we're going to have that in the description below. Fill that out, and we're going to send you an email just before we go live. So it'll be, I think, I'm just trying to remember, in Sydney or Sydney time, it's going to be about 11 a.m. on the 30th of January, which is a Saturday. And then I think it's around 7 a.m. New York time, where a lot of my audience members are based over in New York and in the US. So if you want to be involved, if you want to watch me do this live, teach a live class, then make sure you sign up so you don't miss out. That way you don't have to pay all this money to gurus who will teach you the same thing I'm going to teach you in this training. And if this is actually successful, I would love to do more training on other platforms like email marketing, Google Shopping, YouTube ads, all the things that I've done throughout my 10 years in my career as a professional digital marketer, working for massive brands. So if you want to be involved, please make sure that you sign up, because we would love to have more people on the live event. So make sure you do that, and I'll see you on that. And without further ado, let's jump into the segmentation part. Okay, so we're in the ad set part now inside Facebook ads. Now, normally what I would do when this was working normally before the iOS 14 update, I wouldn't touch placements So you'd see placements down here that most people would just kind of leave, and I would recommend doing that normally. But if I start to see that Facebook ads isn't working as well now from maybe targeting interests, so right now I'm noticing it with tracking, but if it starts to become a problem with actually targeting, then maybe what I want to do is start to break out my placement campaigns. So rather than just going automatic, I will probably want to go to manual placements. So I'm going to click this here, and you can see here all the different options that you have. So what I would do is probably change something like the mobile targeting versus desktop, so I could split those into two different ad sets, and I could do that down here. So if I have a look and go to more options, so I can go to devices, click edit, and I could say if I wanted to split the iOS, the operating system. So if I only want to target Android users because they're not impacted by the iOS 14 update, and I want to target them separately from Apple, I could do that here. I could also do things like exclude devices, so I can actually just go and exclude specific things, but I would say that this is a good one if you want to split them up. I could target iOS only. So if I was targeting Apple, I would do it this way, probably go iOS only. And then here I could target like a minimum and then maximum. Maybe we want to target people who haven't updated to 14.3 yet, so I could go up to 14.2 and have 14.3, or actually I think it's actually 14.1 I'd have to target because you need a minimum. So I'd have to have 2.0 to 14.1, and then maybe 4.2 to 14.2 to 14.3, and have that in a separate campaign. So I start to split these out, and it probably would get a little bit messy, but at least this way you could mitigate, I guess, the impact of running everything inside together, because 14.3 could be impacting targeting down the line. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I'm just keeping an eye on things and just keeping some things up my sleeve, so I would know that if it does go bad, I have something like a plan B that I can jump in and start trying. I am trialing some of these in a client's account now just to see what happens, to see how the algorithm actually learns without having everything grouped together. So I'll let you know how that goes in another video, perhaps the one on the 30th, if you join my live stream. So we'll go through that. The other things that I'll be looking at is, like I said, just splitting out desktop and mobile. So desktop is obviously behaving way different to mobile, and we can edit this here as well. So if I went back in, let's go back to automatic placements and see if we can do it this way. So I go back into manual, and then I've got all devices, and I can click here, and then I can change this. So I can split these up, so I could just have a desktop. So I can just have a desktop targeting, or I could have mobile targeting and take desktop out as well. So it's just mobile, so it's just targeting mobile. So there's lots of ways you can do this, and lots of ways to split it out. I'm not saying that you should go ahead and do this now, but only if you start to notice an issue with targeting and that your campaigns aren't doing it as well as they should be, even after the 3 or 4 days that you're waiting to get feedback from your tracking. So this is something I'm keeping up my sleeve, as well as the next thing we're going to talk about right now. So just to make sure that you're keeping your accounts honest, have a look and make sure that you've targeted everything at 7-day attribution. The 28-day attribution isn't even an option anymore, but if you do have things running from old accounts, then it might seem a little bit skewed. So you want to make sure that you are tracking at 7-day attribution. But if you can't do that, and you've had some old ones running along, so I'll just close this and I'll show you how you can actually look at it. You can go into here, go into compare attributions, because you want to make sure that if we're looking at a 7-day attribution, we know that we're actually looking at that, even if there's some old 28-day ones running, and just apply. So that's how we'll make sure that we can track everything at the ad set level going forward. If you've noticed that the Facebook ads tracking is kind of broken a little bit at the moment, so this is one way of getting around it. Just make sure you've got that on, and that'll just help you, if you've got some of the old ones running, just to help you track everything as you're going along as you would normally. So just a little bit of a tidbit, a little bit of information. So this is what I mentioned before, just to go through placements and segmentation. Again, I'm not going to be going and doing this for every campaign and every ad set, but this is up my sleeve. If things start to go south, then I am going to start testing things like segmenting my ad sets by device, by operating system, by software version, and even the fan network or Facebook ads network, that has been touted to be pretty much useless with this iOS 14 update. I'm going to keep an open mind and see how it goes, but I've had a look through my accounts, and really I haven't been having a lot of conversions or success on the Facebook ads network anyway, so you might want to turn that off if things aren't working out, and just make sure you're splitting out your campaigns and making sure that you can see what placements are actually doing well as well anyway. So just a little thing to note that if things aren't really working as well as they should be in terms of your interest targeting and placement targeting, then you might want to start segmenting things out. But don't do this from the beginning. I would still say try and run it the old way with just having everything on and then seeing what works. But if things start to go a little bit wrong, then just make sure you have something like this up your sleeve so you can start testing things. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is diversifying your marketing channels. Now, if you saw my other video, you'd see some of the things that I'm looking at in terms of what's the alternatives to Facebook ads. I never think it's a good idea to just have one channel and put all your eggs in one basket. It's a really, really bad idea. I would like to always diversify my channels and my assets. So even back when I was working in agencies, in big agencies on big clients, I would make sure we had multiple channels that we were testing. So obviously Google Ads was my bread and butter. I've been doing that for 10 years, and it's the first thing that I ever learned, and I still think it's probably the most powerful. It's more expensive than everything else, but it is the most powerful platform in terms of advertising. And because of the ecosystem, I think that's why I would say that, because there's YouTube ads, there's Gmail targeting, there's like Gmail ads, there's Google ads, there's Google Shopping, there's Google Universal App Campaigns or App Campaigns now. There are a lot of things built into that ecosystem that I don't think any other platform really can offer you, and that's why I still love Google and Google Ads, and it is my go-to. Facebook ads is good, but I have never used that really to great success in terms of working with clients and things like that. I use that as something that is in the ecosystem, but is not the main tool. Now, other brands may see different results. Other brands have been using Facebook ads to great success, and that's been what's been driving all of their, I guess, sales. I have it for one client, which I'll be talking about soon in a case study, where Facebook ads actually did as well as Google ads, so they're on par with each other, drove a lot of traffic and a lot of sales. So it does work, but on other clients I've seen that Google ads actually works better, especially around Google Shopping, because people are actively searching for they want to make a purchase, so they're actively searching on the platform to make a sale. Where on Facebook ads, it's interruptive. It's almost like a billboard. You're driving along and the billboard pops up, and you either have a look at it or you don't. It either interests you or it doesn't. Obviously, it's a little bit more sophisticated because you're targeting interest and you're hoping that person is interested in what you're looking at, but at the same time, they may not be in a buying mode. So that's why I think retargeting was always Facebook ads' strength, and that's going to be a little bit tricky going along as well. So I would say that if you can, try and diversify as well. So I always like to say get cheap traffic in, and then make sure you're using retargeting at the bottom to convert those sales. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. I am looking at things like Pinterest ads and YouTube ads at the top of funnel to get people onto my website or to help with my branding. And then I'm going to be using Google Shopping and Smart Shopping to collect those, I guess, close off the sales at the bottom. I'm still going to be using Facebook ads as well, but I just want to diversify a little bit as well. There's also Snapchat and TikTok, which are undervalued as well, and still a lot of potential. And I'm going to be trying those out and sharing that with you on this channel as well. So make sure that you are diversifying in terms of your paid media. But of course, the big ones are just make sure you're doing your SEO and keeping that on check, because you're getting free traffic that way. It's free. And also make sure that you're collecting emails, and that you're sending regular email campaigns and doing segmentation automation on that as well. Email is your number one sales channel, and you should be building that from day one. Don't always rely on just spending money. You don't always have to spend money to make money. Make sure that you are collecting email addresses, run lead campaigns, do all of that stuff, and we'll talk about breaking that down in another video as well, how I do email marketing and why it is my number one channel and why I love email marketing so much. So make sure you're doing all those things. You can even test going back onto Facebook ads as well. Test things like Messenger. I think it's probably a good one to try and get back into now. Chatbots could be making a comeback as well. So there's lots of things out there you just want to test and have a regime of testing, learning, getting feedback, finding out what works, getting rid of the things that don't. This is what we used to do when I used to work at startups in growth marketing or growth. Is we want to run lots of experiments and see what works, and just kind of learn quickly and discard what's not working, and try and find what is working, essentially. So you need to do this on everything you're working on. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope that you got something out of it. I mentioned before that we are going to be doing a full mini course next week, so the 30th of January. So if you're from New York or from the US, it'll be Friday your time, so probably the 29th, at around, I think, 7 p.m. If you're in Australia, where I'm from, it's going to be 11 a.m. on the Saturday, so January 30th. But if you're confused about all this, just make sure that you're subscribed, make sure that you have the bell notifications on, and make sure that you filled in the form that I'm going to have in the description below, so that I can actually email you about 15 minutes or maybe even half an hour before we go live, so you don't miss out. It's all going to be live on YouTube. I would love to just get your questions that are coming through and answer anything that you're stuck on, but also just to get you to that next level in terms of your Facebook advertising. And we're going to do this for, like I said, a few different channels as well. So if this works out, we'll do it for Google Shopping, we'll do it for YouTube ads. You don't need to pay all these gurus all this money. I'm telling you now, it should be free. You should have this money that you're spending on these gurus to actually create your stores, buy your products and all this sort of stuff. You shouldn't be spending ridiculous amounts of money on gurus. And I would say the same about advertising agencies too, that in my advertising agency, do not take on clients that aren't really making at least over $40,000 a month, because before then, I think it's really important for you to learn how to do that. So again, if there's any gurus trying to sell you advertising services or agencies, I think that you should at least try and do it yourself before you reach out and pay someone a lot of money to run things on your behalf, or unless you're really lazy and you have lots of money, then you can do what you want. But I recommend that you try and learn these things yourself, because that way you can always call them out on things that you don't really agree with. So thanks for sticking around. Like I said, I hope this helped you with your Facebook advertising and has calmed your any questions you might have around the iOS 14 update and if it's going to kill Facebook ads. I don't think it is. It may be the case that Facebook ads becomes less effective over time, but I think I've seen that in a lot of channels, kind of the up and down, swings and roundabouts. So I think it's just keep a level head, keep testing things, make sure that you're trying different channels. I think that's a big one. Just make sure you're trying different channels, because I think that's a big one. There's going to be construction going on here, of course. Luckily, I got this video filmed before then, so I am out of here. But like I said, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can all join on the call on the 30th of January. And if you're interested to learn about Facebook ads, we're going to do the whole thing, a whole mini course. So stick around, look forward to seeing you then, and I'll catch you later. Keep nerding out in e-commerce.